Previously on the Salawags, why it's great gut reaction.
Michelle Pfeiffer is in this film. Now, I want you to remember, filmmaking, that's what we look at. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I want you to pay attention to. I want you to be a smarter viewer when you watch movies. So, what did I say about Jack Nicholson and his wife? When we were introduced to Jack Nicholson and his wife, she's in the background. She's blurry. She's a silhouette. When we see them together, in every single scene, there's a distance between them. You feel it. You feel it. You intuit it with your brain. You intuit it with your heart. All the different parts of you that are working to absorb everything that you experience, right? So, when we take that into account, we know he's already been bitten. He discovers his wife's cheating. When we first meet Michelle Pfeiffer, Jack Nicholson has only just had a couple scenes where we're introduced to his world, and he's going out to a huge party to meet his boss, and it's already been stated he's expecting to lose his job, but he wants to talk about the situation with his boss first. And when he arrives at the party, he's still feeling funky from that wolf bite. And then he approaches, there's horses. They're at a huge estate, many well-to-do people. This is high society. They're a massive estate. And Jack Nicholson, his mere presence freaks out the horses. And horses start backing away. I think they knock someone over. And Jack, who is both affected by this, maybe instinctually weary, but also just he's in that, oh, that Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, I've been bitten by the radioactive spider, I'm still feeling sick, you know. He's going through that werewolf sickness part of his transformation. So he just kind of wearily fades off and backs up and sort of stumbles over to a part that's a little bit away from the rest of the party and finds himself at some little stone steps and sits down. And he looks like he's having a migraine. He's having a terrible moment, whatever's happening to him. And all of a sudden, a very slender, feminine hand reaches down very close to him and offers him a drink. And we hear Michelle Pfeiffer's voice, "Take this." And he does. And he drinks it full. And he does start to feel a little bit better. And Michelle Pfeiffer explains, "This always helps me out or my dad out when he's having a headache." She says something to that effect. But just the very fact that her introduction, her hand is like practically touching his chest. Her introduction to him is so intimate and close. And then they talk a little bit. He realizes he's standing in front of her guest home where she lives outside of his boss's estate. She's his boss's daughter. And through a little bit of conversation, at first you can tell Michelle Pfeiffer feels like he's probably just another creep that she's used to stumbling on her steps from her dad's parties. And just from this little conversation, they strike a bit of chemistry, and both of them realize that the other person is different from other people. And there's just a spiritual, it's very quick, it's captured in a look, but also captured across the conversation. These things have to be performed and written so well that you as the viewer don't even think about it as being dialogue written for you. This introduction to Michelle Pfeiffer, there's a fire there, there's a chemistry there that's so natural between the both of them. It's undeniable. And this is what I say to friends of mine who make movies and stuff. I say, if you want people to look at your work and take you seriously, your work has to be undeniable. And what that really means is scenes like this, where Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer first meet, where their attraction to each other is undeniable. And not only that, but by the end of this first little introduction, her realizing who he is, realizing he's not such a bad guy, she immediately starts, he's a bit scuffled up, from his freak out with the horses. So she, pats his hair and pats his clothes and This is something that I'd actually heard about watching Talkville, actually, where in the early scenes of Clark Kent meeting Lois Lane was sort of touching him up and making sure he looked okay and presentable, even though they weren't even in a relationship yet. And this is sort of what it is an indicator. Whether this would actually happen in real life right away doesn't really matter. What matters is within the movie, you need to establish the terms by which we're supposed to understand and accept these characters going where they're going. So if you have something like the distance between the wife and then the sudden but comfortable closeness of Michelle Pfeiffer's hand and voice appearing, and that by the end of this first conversation, she's already kind of looking out for him, it just indicates a lot that there's an instinctual trust. There's an instinctual connection between these two. And truth be told, I have had friends who met and got married, and there was also that instinctual connection between the two of them when they met. Sometimes it happens right there, and sometimes it happens down the line. But either way, if you're doing a movie, you have to make all of this stuff be very clear right away. Even if it's intentionally supposed to be vague, there should still be something of a hint there that makes it clear that, okay, there's something else going on between these two, and we should pay attention to that. And as you see their scenes, they always seem close to each other. You know what I mean? It's not just the filmmaking forcing you as an audience member to want them to be that way. They have a natural and easy chemistry with each other. That chemistry has to be felt through the camera. If you, as a filmmaker, don't feel that chemistry, you just think, well, the shot's right. There's two of them next to each other. They kissed. But if you do not feel that chemistry, then nothing has technically happened on screen.